He walked into his own diner and saw the truth. What the CEO found broke his heart. Part 1. The Disguise. Jackson Cole sat quietly behind the wheel of his truck, parked across the street from a glowing 24-hour diner that bore his last name. Cole's Diner, one of 12 he had opened over the past 15 years. The rain had just stopped, and the neon red of the diner's sign shimmered on the slick pavement, almost mocking him. He had built this company from the ground up. Long nights, unpaid bills, the stress of payroll, the thrill of opening his third location, and the pain of closing his fifth. Now the business was booming, but success had a strange echo lately. Customer satisfaction scores were plummeting. Employee complaints were rising. His HR team dismissed them as exaggerations. The regional manager shrugged. "Everything's running smooth, boss." But Jackson wasn't a man who believed in smooth when his gut said otherwise. So here he was, hoodie pulled over his head, baseball cap low, work boots instead of his usual loafers. No one would recognize him this way. Not here. This particular diner, located just outside Tulsa, had been his third opening but hadn't seen his face in 5 years. Most of the current staff had never met him. He needed that anonymity. With a deep breath, Jackson stepped out into the damp air, crossed the road, and entered through the front door, the bell above tinkling like it had in all his other locations. Inside, it smelled of grilled onions, old coffee, and stress. Part 2. First Impressions. The place was crowded. College students with laptops, truckers with sunburned faces, a pair of elderly women arguing gently over who would pay the bill. It felt alive, but also off. The kind of tension you couldn't quite place, but knew was there. He slid into a booth at the back near the restrooms and watched. A young waitress zipped by, barely more than 20, dark circles under her eyes, balancing a tray with 4 burgers and a chocolate milkshake. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. Soon after, another server, older, mid-40s maybe, approached with a notepad and the kind of smile that said she'd practiced it for years. "Hey there, welcome to Cole's," she said. "I'm Carol. What can I get for you?" "Coffee. Bacon cheeseburger. Fries," Jackson said, lowering his voice. "You got it," she said. She turned, but he noticed how her shoulders drooped just a little more once her back was to him. He watched the kitchen door swing open again and again. The cooks moved fast, too fast, like their lives depended on it. And then he saw him, the manager, tall, stocky, name tag read Trent. Trent stood near the order counter like a warden at a prison block. His arms were crossed, his expression unreadable but cold. He didn't smile, didn't help, just watched. Carol returned with Jackson's coffee and poured it with shaky hands. "You been here long?" he asked. She gave a dry laugh. "Long enough. 5 years. Wow. You like it?" She paused for a beat too long. "It's a job." She walked away before he could ask more. That pause told him everything. Part 3. What he heard in the kitchen. Then happened. A cry. Quiet, muffled, but unmistakable. Jackson turned his head toward the kitchen. Another voice followed, loud and biting. "Pull it together, Savannah. You want to cry, do it on your own time." Jackson's heart clenched. Carol, walking past, pretended she hadn't heard. Everyone had heard. He stood up, left his coffee untouched, and headed for the kitchen door. Nobody stopped him. Inside was chaos, grills sizzling, plates clattering, and there in the back, near the mop sink, stood a young woman sobbing, no more than 19. Her face red, tears streaking mascara down her cheeks. Trent stood in front of her, arms folded. "You think crying's gonna get the job done?" Table 7 still doesn't have their drinks. "I just needed a second," she whispered. "Well, you don't get a second." Jackson stepped forward. "Is this how you treat people?" Trent turned, eyes narrowing. "Who the hell are you?" "Someone who's tired of watching bullies run my business." Trent laughed. "Buddy, I don't care who you think you are." Jackson pulled off his cap. Silence. Even the cooks stopped moving. The crying girl gasped. Carol dropped the plate she was carrying. "Wait," Trent stammered. "You're Jackson Cole." Jackson nodded. "Owner of this chain. And you just proved why I came here." Part 4. The Reckoning. He turned to the girl. "Go take a break. You still have a job." She didn't say a word, just ran toward the back room. He turned back to Trent. "We need to talk." They stepped into the cramped office. Stacks of old invoices, mustard-stained schedules. Trent closed the door behind them, clearly trying to regain composure. "I didn't know it was you, sir. That's the problem. You shouldn't have to know who's watching to treat people like they matter. I was trying to keep order. By breaking people down?" Trent scoffed. "These kids, they don't work unless you push them." Jackson didn't flinch. Savannah wasn't slacking. She was crying. "You think yelling at her was helping? Look, this place runs well. The numbers don't lie." Jackson narrowed his eyes. "You sure about that?" He listed off the issues: complaints, resignations, declining reviews. Trent was sweating now. "I trusted you," Jackson said. 6 years, I let you run this place. And now I see what that trust got me. So you're firing me?" "Not yet." Trent blinked. "But you're going to work the floor? Tonight. Like everyone else." "What?" "You heard me." He turned, opened the door. "Carol," he said, "get him an apron." Content continues in reply due to length. Part 5. Walking the floor. Trent looked like he'd swallowed a lemon when Carol handed him a white apron. His dress shirt wrinkled, his face red. He tied it on, reluctantly, and stood beside Jackson like a kid being dragged into detention. Their first stop, a family of 4. Jackson refilled their water glasses. "Everything taste okay?" The father nodded. "Real good, thanks." Jackson looked at Trent. "Check them out." Trent fumbled with the notepad, stuttered his way through getting the check, then nearly dropped the pen. Jackson said nothing. Over the next hour, Jackson had him bussing tables, running drinks, taking orders. It was clumsy at first. Customers looked confused. Employees watched with silent curiosity. But then something shifted. Savannah passed with a heavy tray. Trent stepped aside, but Jackson caught his arm. "Help her." Trent hesitated, then reached out, steadying the tray. Savannah glanced at him, surprised, then gave a small nod. Jackson noticed Trent's shoulders drop a little. The tension in his jaw eased. He wasn't just being humbled, he was learning. By the end of the night, Trent's voice was softer, his steps less rigid. When the last customer left, he helped wipe down the tables. Not because he was told, because it felt right. "You see it now, don't you?" Jackson asked. Trent didn't answer immediately. Then he nodded. "Yeah, Edo. You didn't know how much they carry, did you?" "No, I didn't." Jackson nodded. "So what are you going to do about it?" Trent straightened. "I'm going to change. I have to." "Then prove it." Part 6. The next morning. Jackson returned to the diner before sunrise. The lot was mostly empty. He walked in, the bell above the door ringing softly. The air still carried yesterday's smell: burnt toast, syrup, disinfectant. Carol was behind the counter, setting up. "You're back already?" she asked, raising an eyebrow. "I said things are going to change." She studied him, her expression somewhere between skepticism and hope. "We'll see." Moments later, Trent walked in. His posture was different. Not beaten, but humbled. He greeted Carol softly, then approached Jackson. "Morning. Seat." He did. Carol poured them both coffee without a word. "I meant what I said last night," Jackson began. "This isn't just about you. It's about this place being somewhere people want to work." Trent nodded. "First step, you talk to your team. Every single one. One-on-one. No lectures. Just listen. Understand what they need." Trent sighed. "Okay. Next, new rules. Breaks happen. Schedules are fair. Nobody's disposable." Trent looked down. "Got it." "No. You live it. If I hear anything, you're out. No second chances." Trent met his eyes. "You won't." Employees started trickling in. Trent greeted them differently. He thanked the line cook. Asked Savannah how she was. Not fake. Genuine. Jackson watched from a corner booth. The change was small, but it was real. Part 7. Company-wide reform. Back in the office, Jackson picked up the phone. This wasn't just about one diner. He scheduled surprise visits to every location. He launched an anonymous employee feedback system. He mandated leadership retraining for all managers. The message was clear: abuse of authority was over. A few days later, he returned to the Tulsa diner during peak dinner hours. Sat in the back. Watched. Trent moved with purpose, checked on tables, smiled, helped when needed. When Savannah walked by, she paused. Thanks for coming back. Jackson smiled. Always. It was the best the diner had run in years. But he wasn't done. Part 8, 1 hour away. One of the company's top-performing diners, on paper, was just an hour away. But Jackson had received whispers. High turnover, stressed employees, a manager named Greg, known for his efficiency. He showed up unannounced. From the moment he walked in, he felt it. Fear. Employees moved like machines. Conversations were clipped. No smiles. No soda. Then a server dropped a glass. Seriously, Madison? Greg snapped. How many times? Jackson stood and walked over. Let's talk. Greg blinked. I'm in the middle of. Now. They went to the office. You know who I am? Jackson asked. Of course. Then you know why I'm here. Greg crossed his arms. This diner runs like clockwork. Numbers don't lie. Jackson leaned forward. Numbers don't explain why your team is miserable. They're not miserable. They know I expect results. There's a difference between high standards and fear. Greg scoffed. This is business, not summer camp. Jackson's tone turned cold. You've lost more employees than any other location. Is that efficiency, or are they running away? Greg didn't respond. You're done here. What? You're not the problem solver. You're the problem. Greg's jaw tightened. You're making a mistake. No, Jackson said. The mistake was letting this go on. He opened the door. Pack up. Greg stared at him, waiting for a change of heart. It didn't come. He left in silence. Part 9, a new chapter. Jackson stepped out of the office. The staff had overheard enough to know what happened. They didn't cheer, didn't cry, just stood still, uncertain. He faced them. Greg's not coming back. And from now on, this place changes. They exchanged glances. No one said anything. Not yet. That was fine. Trust isn't declared. It's earned. And Jackson was ready to earn it. Epilogue. The founder returns. Over the following months, Jackson continued his mission. He worked shifts anonymously. He built a leadership team rooted in empathy. He rewarded those who upheld the company's real values, not just those who met quotas. At one diner, a cook named Raina told him, I was going to quit last week. Then I saw Trent washing dishes. At another, a server in Denver said, this is the first time I've felt seen. Savannah eventually became a shift leader. Carol trained new hires. And Trent? He stayed. Better. Humbled. Still learning, but honest. One evening, sitting in a booth with a slice of pie, Jackson looked around one of his diners and saw laughter. Community. Respect. And for the first time in years, he didn't feel like a CEO. He felt like a founder again.